Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Tuesday, it is January 28th. It's 2020. We have 8 games to talk about here on today's slate. I'm joined by my good buddy, Genie for 07. Grant, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty great, just training for the RG basketball game coming up this weekend. Walked up and down the stairs about 15 times today. I'm feeling in shape, although I am a little exhausted from walking over 10 feet to grab water.
Yeah, I went out and I shot some hoops today for the first time in 4 or 5 years. It was a long time. So it was fun. My wife and my daughter beat me in pig. Like it was funny. Yes, it was my daughter is 7 and can barely make make buckets, and she beat me, and my wife kicked my butt. So I told them like I have to go to the court every day this week to get ready for the game.
Yeah, I probably should. I don't think I've been on a basketball court in 4 years.
Yeah. So. Like it was like the last time I played basketball was the original RG basketball game in Vegas 4 or 5 years ago. So it's been a while.
Yeah, I was vomiting during that. I didn't go. I meant I was vomiting in Vegas in my hotel room.
That's hilarious. I just got a text from my wife saying victory with a little pig so she could hear me. She's like, you didn't tell them in Slack earlier, but here, I told everybody on the podcast, so everyone can make fun of me on Twitter today, but it's all in good fun. Let's move on to this slate. We got a lot to talk about here on this 8-gamer. We start with the Knicks and the Hornets, 210 total. Charlotte favored by 1 in this game. As far as injury news goes in this game, really RJ Barrett, the only thing that we're looking at here the night before. Let's start here with the Knicks. Barrett out. Elf Payton he's been solid. He's 6K. I think he's, a somewhat okay play here.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten over 30 in 5 straight, average around 35 in that span. 6K, it's not a great price, but it's not a terrible price. There's definitely worse plays on the slate. Charlotte, obviously, not a bad matchup for 1. Right in the middle of the pack here. This should be a decently close game. Should have enough points in it. I mean, it's got a 210 total, which isn't high, but considering what the output and the prices on all these guys are, it's about right. Randall, 8-6, I don't know, unless they throw him down to the 5 and just go a little bit smaller because Charlotte's not great versus bigs. I don't really see him beating his price tag of 8,600 here. Morris, 6,200. He's been fine recently. He's been good form the last 2 games. This game's projected to stay close. I guess there's a chance that he ends up with high 30s minutes. Even still, not a guy that jumps out. I don't really know what to do with any of the bigs here. I don't know which one to end up using. The minutes are kind of all over the place. I guess Gibson's in there at 3,400, but I don't think he's going to get enough minutes. It's just Payton for me here on the New York side. I think, I don't see any guys that I really want to go with. I don't trust the big guys.
Yeah, so, when I'm looking at New York, I'm kind of with you. I like Payton. I don't mind Marcus Morris. I think he's okay. Charlotte is a really bad, team on the interior, bad rebounding team. So, maybe you take shots on Morris. I really like Randall. I just don't like his price. So, if you're price shopping him, maybe you can, play him more on, a Fanduel or, a Yahoo. I just don't know if necessarily you're going to be playing him on Draftkings or FantasyDraft. I don't ever look at pricing the night before. I like to kind of just overview the slate. That's kind of what the podcast is all about. So I think this is a good matchup for Randall. I think he's a guy that could easily put up 45 to 50 fantasy points in this game. So if you can find a site where you could take advantage of that, I think that's the guy you're kind of looking at here. And then on the Charlotte side of things, for Charlotte all year for me, it's really been Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier, the 2 guys that I typically play. I don't love this matchup. This is a slower paced game. Is there anything that you're liking here for Charlotte?
I'm actually going to allow it. Yeah, you're right. Same thing with me. It's pretty much Graham and Rozier, but it's not a good matchup for either of them. Neither come into this game with great form. I mean, they're completely fine with tournament flyers, but this is not going to be a high-scoring game. I just don't see the need to play either of these guys, considering they're probably not going to go off in a lower-scoring game. Graham would have to get hot shooting in order to pay off value. it's just a full-on fade of Charlotte.
Yeah, again, I'm not seeing much here. Charlotte plays at the slowest pace. New York is 22nd. This game's just gonna be slow. It has the lowest total on the slate. Just not seeing a ton of value in this one. So not gonna load up on this one. So moving on, we got Golden State at Philly. No total in this game. Looney's out. And then on the Philly side, Joel Embiid is questionable, and Josh Richardson is out. Embiid with the questionable tag, obviously, he practiced fully on Monday. He's really getting close. Maybe they wait one more game with this game being against Golden State. We'll have to kind of see. Is there anything standing out to you for Golden State?
I mean, Russell Burks. That's pretty much it. Don't really like a whole lot of other guys. This is not an easy matchup going up against Philly. It's not going to be, in all likelihood, a close game. It's not going to be a high-scoring game. Burks and Russell can easily get there just based off of shot volume if this game actually ends up staying close and they play mid-30s minutes. But if it doesn't stay close, there's no chance that they're hitting value. It's strictly the volume's going to be there for either Russell or Burks or both. I'd throw one of them in if I'm throwing any other guys on the Philly side if Embiid is out. But that's really the only reason to play. I'm not taking a shot on Green, not taking a shot on Pascal. I'm not taking a shot on any of these guys. Even Damian Lee's sitting there, 4,800. He's only getting mid-20 minutes recently. So there's no real upside on any of these guys outside of Russell and Burks, who are just they're guys that can go off any matchup. This isn't easy. This isn't a good spot for them. It's just they're there pretty much, and they're going to check.
Yeah, Russell is a guy, his usage is just so high, over 50 fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games. I'll play him just about any time out right now. So I think he's still kind of underpriced. So I like D'Angelo Russell here. Outside of that, like you mentioned with Burks, he's so hit or miss. He's 5,500. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. Yeah, I just don't love a lot here for Golden State. I think you could take shots on Glenn Robinson on sites that he's cheap. If you just want a guy that's going to play a ton of minutes. So his usage is just really low, but he does take high percentage shots. So that's one of the reasons I like Glenn Robinson. And we saw Chris play 21 minutes the other night with Willie Cauley-Stein out. But really, I think the guy that's going to benefit the most is Spellman and Pascal. We'll just kind of have to see how it plays out because Pascal didn't play a ton the other night, or Spellman didn't play a ton the other night. Pascal played 27 minutes, but Pascal at 4,800 is worth a tournament flyer if you're mass multi-entering. The Philly side, obviously if Embiid plays, he's interesting. This game probably gets a little uglier if he plays. If Embiid's out, even at 10K, I think Ben Simmons has some upside in this matchup.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those spots where if I'm playing D-Russ over on the other side, then I'll bring it back here with some Philly guys. And that's if Embiid plays, he's the only one I have interest in. I mean, I assume he's only been out for 20 days. He's probably still in shape because it was a finger issue. He should be fine to play mid-30s minutes if he ends up coming back here. If he comes back, Simmons way overpriced, Harris is overpriced, Horford's overpriced. But if Embiid is out, then yeah, Simmons at 10K going up against Golden State can put up a huge ceiling game here. He's been averaging over 50 for the last 10 games. He's been on a tear without Embiid in the lineup, and against Golden State is a perfect matchup for him in every single way. So I'd have to wait and see what the line is. I'm guessing the line is going to be around 10, probably a little bit more going up against Golden State. But if Embiid is out, I'm bringing it back with Russell if I'm playing Simmons. And Harris is probably the second guy that I'd end up going with. Still playing upper 30s minutes. If this game stays close, I'll throw him in. But again, I'm not playing him unless it's in a game stack scenario. It's a good matchup for him. Horford's fine. Not a guy that I'm going to go out of my way to play. He really hasn't been in great form recently. I just much rather go with Harris or Simmons here. And then, if you want to take a shot on Thibault, maybe just because the minutes are going to be there and it's a good matchup versus Golden State. I know he's not a great point per minute guy, but the minutes are absolutely going to be there. And it's a fast-paced matchup. Any given time, he can go off for a big game. He put up 12 shots against Toronto. He can get there by volume. It's just he's 4.7K. He's probably priced about where he should be. So realistically, it's if Embiid's in, it's Embiid. If Embiid's out, then Simmons and Harris make interesting tournament plays.
Yeah, so the guy that I actually like more than Thibault is Sheikh Milton. Like he started the other night, played 25 minutes. He put up 25 fantasy points and only took 5 shot attempts. So he's a guy that I really like here. If Embiid sits again, obviously usage is more spread out, but like he got the start for Josh Richardson last game. If he picks up another start here, Golden State, a team that typically will go small. So I like Sheikh Milton as a large field tournament play here. I just don't think a lot of people will be on him. I think a lot of people will look at Thibault, which is fine. But I think like if you want in a tournament play, I think Tobias Harris is really safe at 7,400 too. Going up against Golden State. If Embiid sits, I think Tobias is really, really safe. So he's just a guy that like I just don't expect a lot of people to be on either. So yeah, gonna have to watch the news here. If Embiid plays, I think it's a spot he could crush in. It's just I just is he gonna get 25 minutes getting eased back in? That'd be the only thing that like I'd be worried about. So
I mean, again, it was a finger injury. Like maybe we'll get news about him. It's the first game on the slate, but I have to assume that he's still in decent shape. Like I don't see how he would get out of shape in 20 days if it's not really an injury that would hinder him from staying in shape.
All right, moving on. We got Atlanta at Toronto, 233 total here. Toronto favored by 12.5 in this game. Bembry's out, Len is out, Parker is out, Fernando is questionable, and on the Toronto side, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson and Patrick McCall, they're both questionable. Let's start here with the Atlanta side of things. Trae Young, monster game against Washington last time out, but these two teams just played 8 days ago, and Trae Young put up 73 fantasy points. What do you like here for Atlanta?
I mean, it's Trae. Like, I'm not paying 8.2K for Collins. I don't know how many minutes it's going to be. He's been in foul trouble almost every single game, so his minutes aren't really something I can trust. It's not a great matchup going up against Toronto. They should be able to shut him down a decent amount. And, again, like, foul trouble is always a worry. Herter is a fine play. He's not a great play at 5,500. It's not a great matchup for him. Reddish, Hunter, probably not going with either of them. I think it's just Trae for me. And if I'm playing Trae, I am definitely bringing it back on the other side with someone else. Like, Trae can put up a huge outing any given time. You just said it. Put up 70 points against him last time, just 6 days ago. He should smash here if this game stays close, because that's the only way they're probably staying in it is if he's having a good night shooting and dishing the ball out. But yeah, like that's really it. It's Trae Young, and he's the only guy that I'd really consider from this game, and I'm only considering him if I'm bringing it back with someone else.
Yeah, man, like it's so tempting to take a shot on like Hunter here, but I don't think I'll end up doing it. I think Jeff T could play like 25 minutes in this game. He just really, his usage is just really, really low. So Trae Young, really, like I'm kind of with you. I think Trae Young's the only guy that I have interest in here. On the Toronto side of things, Kyle Lowry at 7,200. I know he hasn't been crushing, but like he has a really nice floor here in this matchup against Atlanta at this price point.
Yeah, he hasn't been crushing, but 35, 37 minutes in the last 3. Like, he hasn't been shooting great. He hasn't put up a lot of good stats, but it's a matchup versus Atlanta. Going up against Trae Young defense, it's a perfect spot for him. Like, he's absolutely in for a good game here. The floor is good. The ceiling is there. Like, you can put up a 55-point game at any given time. He's one of the cheapest guys. Siakam, it's a good matchup for him. I don't mind him. I don't love him. He's priced about where he should be. Still has some upside, but like with this team entirely healthy, it's just like the usage is spread around to everyone else. I'm not playing Van Vliet at 8,200. I just don't really have a desire to pay that price tag for him, even though he's getting a ton of minutes. Guy I have a lot of interest in is Gasol. Like, a lot of games where they stay close, like this is if I'm playing Trae Young. Bring it back with a cheaper guy like Gasol. Got 36 minutes in the last game, 30 in the game before that. I know he hasn't been a great point per minute producer, but like throughout the course of the season, he has these random stretches where he'll end up putting up massive outings on a consistent basis. Atlanta, terrible defensive team, high-paced matchup. I really, really like Gasol in the spot. I think there's a decent shot where he ends up over 30 minutes if this game stays close.
Yeah, I like the Marc Gasol call, probably more on 2 center sites than like on FanDuel. with FanDuel pricing, I think you could pay up a little bit at center. There's some really strong center plays on this slate that we're going to talk about as we're going here. And yeah, like I don't mind Van Vliet. I just think I don't think his ceiling is extremely high, but I do think this is a good matchup for him. The guy that I kind of like here from Toronto is Norman Powell. You were talking about if you're playing Trae Young, run it back with a cheap guy. I think you could run it back with Norman Powell and Marc Gasol and just take two cheap guys, and I think they both could exceed value here. So it's just, I don't know if this is a game you necessarily want to stack. We're going to talk about a lot of games on this slate that have high totals. So I don't know if this is the game that you end up on that you want, all your eggs in one basket for, but I do think when you're looking at this spot, I think this is a really interesting tournament spot for Norman Powell, and I don't really expect him to be too popular here either, which is always fun. So, let's move on. We got Boston at Miami. Sorry, don't want to skip that one. No total in this game. On the Boston side, Cantor is out and Tatum is doubtful. Miami side, they're on a back-to-back, so we really don't know. Kendrick Nunn has been out, so we'll put him as questionable. I know, some of these guys, Winslow's out, but is Butler and these guys going to play on back-to-backs after been dealing with all these injuries? So we'll kind of have to see. I know it was an ankle injury for Butler, so let's start here with Boston. Obviously, with Tatum doubtful here and Cantor out, we're definitely looking at some of these Boston guys.
Yeah, I mean, Kemba's the guy that immediately jumps off the page. It's not a great matchup versus Miami. They shut down ones, but it doesn't really matter the matchup. Without Tatum in there, Walker's usage goes up a decent amount. 54 and 60 in the last two games. This is, like I said, this isn't a good matchup, but just without Tatum in there, just huge uptick in usage. Hayward at 7,100 in a tough matchup versus Miami. Even with Tatum out, I don't think I'm using him. Brown at 6,400 is a little bit more palatable, and I think that he offers some upside in this matchup, especially if Butler ends up missing. I don't mind Jaylen Brown at 6,400. Smart, probably not going there. Tice, I'm probably not going with him. I know he's had 30 and 2 straight, and he's getting more minutes. I probably have to keep him on the floor more for Bam, but 5,700, I don't see a ton of upside at this price tag. I don't see him getting over 40. So not a guy that I'm going to end up going with. Williams, another guy that just isn't going to produce. So for me, it's just Walker and Brown. Walker being by far my favorite play on the Celtics today.
Yeah, I like this spot a lot for Walker as well. With Cantor off the floor, Theis is he's gonna play the minutes, which is fine. It's like you though. I don't know if I see a ceiling here. But Kemba, when Tatum and Cantor are both off the floor, he has a 33.4% usage rate. It's a 5% usage bump over his season average. He's averaging 1.36 fantasy points per minute. So, Kemba's the play for me. I think Jaylen Brown, another guy that's fine. I think Hayward is fine if you find him anywhere that he's kind of underpriced. I don't mind it, but those are the three guys for me. I don't think I'm going to go out of my way, even though it is a back-to-back for Miami. I don't think I'm going to go out of my way to play some of these cheaper Boston guys. I think Kemba at his price is really, really strong here, and I have no issues rolling him out there. On the Miami side, it's a back-to-back for Miami. We're going to have to wait and see if anybody gets ruled out. Don't think we will see. Maybe Goran Dragic, maybe Butler. But I think Bam plays, and, bigs against Boston's been a thing all year. What do you like here for Miami?
I mean, it all depends on who ends up playing. Bam, Butler, Dragic, Hero are all fine plays. I'd say, assuming none is out, Hero is a decent play. If none plays, then probably avoiding the guards altogether and just Bam and Butler. But who knows if one will end up sitting on the back-to-back here. Butler almost didn't play yesterday. Bam should be in a good spot here. Been putting up decent numbers recently outside of one bad start, been up over 40 in almost every single game. The price tag's a little bit high, but there still is definitely some upside. He can 6X, he can 7X his price tag. He can end up close to 60 in any given matchup. He just came off a triple-double today or yesterday, whenever you're listening to this. Bam and Butler are the two guys I'd go with if none ends up playing. If none's out, I think you take a shot on either Dragic or Hero or both.
All right. I don't really have much to add. Let's move on. New Orleans at Cleveland. 233 total here. New Orleans favored by 6.5 in this game. Miller is out. Williams is out. And then we'll have to kind of see here for Cleveland. Nothing night before with them being on a back-to-back. But they handled the Pistons pretty well where, like, you know, these guys didn't have to play a ton of minutes. Anything standing out to you here for New Orleans?
I'd say probably Ball would be my favorite play. I mean, Zion's starting to get more minutes just each and every game. So I don't really want to pay 7.2K, but if he gets into the 30-minute mark, he can end up with 50 points easily, especially in a matchup versus Cleveland. Drew, like having Zion and Ingram and Lonzo all in this offense, like trying to figure out who's going to end up with the most usage there. Like Drew can beat this price tag of 7,900, but the likelihood of it happening is not terribly likely. He's probably a guy that I'm going to end up avoiding. Ingram, just everyone in here, he's not taking the same amount of shots. Only been over 14 once in the last 4 games. Not expecting much out of him. 7,600 is way too much to take a shot on him. So I'm avoiding him entirely. Favors just playing mid to high 20s minutes here. 6,100. Price tag's too high for me to really want to take too much of a shot on him. He'd have to be hyper efficient, which he has been recently, but he keeps shooting great from the floor. I think he's at 80% over the last 5 games. Don't expect that to continue here. Cleveland's not bad versus 5s, but they are a good rebounding team, so it kind of limits his upside. To me, it's probably Ball and then maybe Zion in tournaments.
Yeah. You know, Zion, 27 minutes the other night. I think if he's going to, you know, see an increase in minutes, obviously he has a lot of upside here against, you know, a Cleveland team. But outside of that, like, you know, like you mentioned, Ingram, he's kind of expensive. Drew is fine. I just don't know if he necessarily has, like, a massive ceiling here. Lonzo is the guy that, like, I keep leaning towards because he's playing really good. Like, 15 assists the other night. So, like, and he didn't even get a double-double when he put up over 40 fantasy points. So I think Lonzo is really interesting here. The sneaky play here is Derrick Favors. This is a really good matchup for Derrick Favors. He's 6,100, a little bit cheaper across the industry. Just going to have to kind of price shop him. But he's a guy that could easily get a double-double in this game. And if he plays like 28 minutes, I don't think, you know, Zion being back is necessarily really going to hurt him. So, you know, Josh Hart, JJ Redick, these guys are still playing like decent minutes. You know, JJ definitely is taking a decrease here, but really, like, Okafor is just kind of out of the rotation now, and, like, you know, Hayes is losing minutes. So, like, none of these guys for New Orleans, they're playing a pretty tight rotation right now. So you can kind of predict where the minutes are going to go, and it's a matchup against Cleveland and Cleveland on a back-to-back. So I don't really have anything else from New Orleans. Do we think Kevin Love plays here on a back-to-back?
I don't know. I mean, it's a 5:30 game, or 6:30, 7:30. 7:30 game. I had to think of East Coast time. He only played 24 minutes in the last game, so
Yeah, he probably plays.
yeah, I would think that he ends up playing here. In any case, we'll know before lock. His price at 7,700. Full allotment of minutes against New Orleans at 7,700 is just way, way too cheap for Kevin Love. Like, he can have a 50-point game here. Really like him. Sexton probably priced at where he should be at 6,500. I know he's been taking a boatload of shots recently, but doesn't get enough ancillary stats where I'm in love with the play. I'm not going to argue against it. He did just put up 44 against Washington not too long ago, but not a guy that stands off the page to me. He's a fine play. He's just not a great play. Tristan Thompson, 5,700. Hasn't been playing a ton of minutes recently. Maybe on a back-to-back he doesn't get a whole lot of minutes. I don't hate the play, but I don't love the play. Like, really, just for me, it's Love. If he's confirmed playing, I really like him. Probably not going Nance, probably not going Garland.
Like, the thing that's semi-interesting here is New Orleans plays at such a fast pace. It's Cleveland on a back-to-back. They're going to be playing, you know, faster pace in this game because of New Orleans. Like, I don't think, like, Sexton is the worst play in the world here. High usage guy. back-to-back. It really probably not going to affect him too much here. Like, we've seen him on multiple times on back-to-backs go and have good games. I just wish he was a little bit cheaper. Maybe he's cheaper on FanDuel. Maybe he's cheaper on Yahoo. I think the matchup overall is really good for him. I don't hate Larry Nance here. Kevin Porter came back, was on a minutes limit. I think he played like 15 or 16 minutes. So we'll have to kind of watch and see how that plays out. But the one that I want to mention here is Alonzo McKinney. He played 25 minutes against Detroit on Monday, and like he's been kind of flirting around this like 18 to 20 minute mark. He's min salary. If you're mass multi-entering, like this is not the worst spot to throw a dart at. We'll have to kind of see what his ownership is throughout the day. But I do think he's a little interesting here for tournaments. That's it, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right, Washington at Milwaukee, 240 total. Grant, 240 total. Milwaukee's favored by 16 in this game. Hatcher Morera is out. Jordan McRae is out, and Wagner is out. Everybody's going to go on the Milwaukee side. Like, I know this is a tough matchup for Washington and Bradley Beal, but like the dude's gone for 50 straight or 50 in 3 straight games. He's 8,300. Like, I think we just keep playing him here.
Yeah, I think we kind of have to. I mean, he's just been taking so many shots, been doing so well. It's a tough matchup, but it's still going to be a very, very high pace, very high scoring matchup. The only worry is if this game's going to stay close. Don't care. Even if this game doesn't end up staying close, like against Cleveland in 29 minutes, he put up 50 points. If he plays 29 minutes, this game turns into a blowout, he's still going to end up probably getting you close to value. So you're just kind of playing, if it's a blowout, he's still probably fine. If it's not a blowout, he's probably going to smash here. So Beal is the guy that I'm really looking at. Bertan's been playing a decent amount of minutes recently. Hasn't shot great and is still putting up all right outings. 30, 26, and 36 while he shoots not great. In this 30-point game against Atlanta, he still only shot 3 for 12 from the field. If he gets hot from behind the arc, he can get 45 points in this type of spot here in a high-paced matchup. So it's Bertans there. It's Beal. Troy Brown if you really need some value, but most likely just Bertans and Beal for me.
Yeah, it's really the only 2 guys that I have interest here, and it's much more Beal than it is Bertans. I think this is a okay spot for Bertans, and maybe Ish Smith plays extra minutes here with McRae out. Like if you're looking at large field tournaments, how many extra minutes is Troy Brown really going to play here? So I think maybe Ish Smith gets a bump, but that's really it. And then on the Milwaukee side of things, like Giannis is really expensive in a game they're favored by 16 points. Like so many of Washington's games go over the total, and this game is featuring 2 of the fastest paced teams in the NBA. I think Milwaukee's first and Washington's fourth. It's just Milwaukee's a much better defensive team. What do you like here for the Bucks?
I mean, Giannis, it all depends on this game stays close. Like if you're bringing it back with Bertans and Beal and playing some value plays, like you can throw in Giannis, but like outside of that, Bledsoe is a matchup versus Washington. It's the best matchup or one of the best matchups on the board for points. Like Middleton going up against Washington. If this game stays close and he plays mid-30s minutes, like he should smash. I really like Brook Lopez here. Like it's a perfect kind of spot for him. If this game stays close, he ends up, I think, around 35, maybe more. This game doesn't stay close. I still think he ends up having a decent game here. Like, this is a good Brook Lopez spot. Like, this is a really good spot for him. He's not a guy that I normally play that much, but 4,800, I think he can crush his value here, go 7x in this spot. I really like him, and, like, yeah, anyone else you're playing, it's basically just you're bringing it back with some Washington guys, and you're just trying to see what ends up fitting. But I have no problem with Giannis, Middleton, or Bledsoe.
Yeah. Do you think Brook Lopez gets any love here?
No, I would imagine not.
I don't think he gets a lot of love here either. I'm hoping he doesn't get a lot of love here.
Yeah, he's just not a guy that people generally play anyways. Even against Washington, like I'll probably see Gasol get more ownership than Brook Lopez.
All right. Moving on here. We got Denver at Memphis. We have a 226 total. It's a pick'em game right now. Millsap, Murray, Plumlee all out, and Crowder on the Memphis side, he's doubtful. Let's start here with Denver. Obviously a good matchup here going up against Memphis. What do you like here for Denver?
I mean, kind of everything. Grant, I don't know if I'll end up playing him. I know he's been playing about low minutes and doing really well. It's a good matchup versus Memphis. I guess that price tag's still probably not enough of a price increase here for Grant, who's been just beating it consistently with all the injuries to everyone. So Grant's fine. He's just a little bit too cheap. Barton has not been playing well, but he's been shooting horrible. Like, if he has a decent shooting night here going up against Memphis, it's an up-paced matchup. He just hasn't, like, in any game he's shot over double digits recently. He's just shot terrible. So he's still a guy that can crush value. Porter, if he gets 30 minutes, he is going to get 40 points in all likelihood. If he plays in mid-20s, he's still not going to kill you here at 6,200. Up over 30 in 3 games straight with a 48 in there. Don't mind him. I don't know, Morris, 5,400. I don't really want to pay that price tag for him. Like, it's Grant, it's Barton, it's Joker, and Porter. I don't even mention Joker. Joker's 10.2K, and he's put up 60 in 2 straight. Now he gets a high-paced matchup versus Memphis. Joker's a fantastic play. Go ahead and tell me I'm wrong, Stevie.
No, I said we have a lot of strong centers on the slate. I think he's one of the strongest players on the slate, so he's probably going to bust.
This doesn't sound right.
I know, it's weird, right? Like, it's always weird when I praise the Joker. And again, like I've said multiple times, I think he's a good basketball player. I never said that. I don't love him for fantasy. I think he has 70-point upside in this matchup. So I like the spot for him a lot, but I could also see him being really popular and busting too. So if that happens, I think Will Barton is a fantastic tournament player if you're not playing Joker. I know if you look at his game log, you're going to be like, why would you even consider Will Barton here? But I think this is a strong spot for him. I think Jeremiah Grant, his price has come up. If he's cheaper on FanDuel or Yahoo, I don't mind him. I like the overall matchup for him. I like the overall matchup for Michael Porter too. If he is cheaper, I just don't see myself playing him too much at 6,200. The other side, like the Memphis side, or I guess we need to mention Gary Harris is 4,300 with these guys out, and could potentially see a little bit more of a minutes increase here now that he's played a couple games.
Yeah, I could definitely end up seeing that. But
it's never sexy to play Gary Harris.
It isn't, but I mean, he's played even when he plays a bunch of minutes, 4,300. Yeah, he can go for 30, but when he's been playing minutes, he still hasn't done that great. I don't know. It's fine, I guess. We'll see if other value ends up opening up, but I just don't have a whole lot of interest in him.
What do you like here for Memphis?
I mean, Morant, J-Val, Jackson are all good plays. It's supposed to be a close game. It's supposed to be fairly high scoring. I think it's a pick 'em right now. Morant doesn't offer a ton of upside at 7K here, but a little bit of upside. J-Val, maybe he ends up getting more minutes going up against Joker. He's only been playing mid-20s recently, but this is definitely a spot where they can end up giving him more. So he has 40, 50-point upside, 6.7. I think I prefer him to Morant. Triple J, same thing as always. Worry about foul trouble. He's a decent tournament option. It's not the worst matchup in the world for him. But Dillon Brooks, I just keep playing him, and he just keeps getting it done, having a horrible game, getting it done. He's putting up a lot of shots. If he gets hot on the floor, he can absolutely put up 50 fantasy points. He's priced at 6K. That's way too cheap. They aren't raising his price tag because he puts in a few random, just complete duds, but consistently up over 30. Huge upside. I really like Dillon Brooks in this spot.
Yeah, he's the definition of tournament play. So hit or miss. He's a guy that could go off, or he's a guy that could easily dud. He's the definition of a tournament play here. So I like the call. You and I talked about him a bunch. So I like this. I actually like Morant here. I think that this is a good spot for Morant. I think his price has come down enough where he does have some upside. I think this is a spot you could potentially take a shot on Valanciunas too. Like, this is a spot that they could use him to play some minutes in this game. So I don't hate Valanciunas as a tournament play here. Outside of that though, maybe you take a shot on Clark if Crowder does end up sitting, but you're gonna have to price shop him because DraftKings prices, he's not the greatest. But I will note, like, Kyle Anderson played 29 minutes the other night, and drew the start in place of Crowder. He's 4,100. He would be really interesting here. Kyle Anderson, I remember playing him a ton when he was with the Spurs.
Yeah, I know he can definitely get it done. Put up 27 points last time. 4K, like, I'd take that, but I don't know if I'll end up getting there. Yeah. Yeah, we've definitely seen it from him before with the Spurs, so it's definitely possible.
Maybe your 7 o'clock starts don't start off well, and you go, like, switch off to Kyle Anderson or something.
Yeah.
All right, Phoenix at Dallas, last game on the slate. We got a 229 total here. Dallas favored by 6.5. Baines and Cam Johnson, Kaminsky are all out. Ricky Rubio is questionable. It's a back-to-back for Dallas. We'll kind of have to see if any of these guys end up sitting on the back-to-back. I know, like, we know Porzingis just came back. Maybe he ends up sitting here. What do you like here for Phoenix?
I mean, if Rubio ends up sitting, Booker, Ayton, and Oubre are all good plays. Oubre sitting there at 6,900. There's a perfect spot. Dallas is not great versus 3. He's gotten over 40 in his last 2 games. He's playing a ton of minutes every single game here. Like him in this spot. Ayton has been hit or miss. A lot of it's been foul trouble recently where he's had bad games. But last 2 games, 38 minutes per game. Like, he's going to play a boatload of minutes. Dallas doesn't really have a whole lot of great big men. Who knows if WCS is even going to play here? There's a chance Porzingis ends up sitting out. Like, Ayton and Booker are the guys, especially if Rubio ends up missing, and I still like Oubre, but those are the 3 guys that I'm really interested in. If Rubio does end up sitting out, Okubo is in there at 3,100. I don't like playing him, but that's super cheap. We won't know until later on, so it always makes a decent idea to swap around. Tyler Johnson's sitting there at 3K. Maybe he gets some minutes. Like, it all depends on the Rubio news, what value you're going to end up getting, but Oubre, Ayton, and Booker are good plays regardless.
Yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein didn't end up playing on Monday. They said that he's still kind of learning. But you have to think if Porzingis ends up sitting that Willie Cauley-Stein plays minutes in this game. So I just don't know if he's cheap enough to necessarily take the risk either. So, and we have a ton of guys that we've kind of talked about. I know, kind of skipping over to the Dallas side, but I did want to mention that I really like Booker in this spot. I know he's expensive, but I think this is a game that he has a nice ceiling for tournaments, and I really like Ayton. I think Ayton has a really nice ceiling for tournaments in this game as well. So I just want to mention those 2 guys on the Phoenix side. Oubre, like you mentioned, 6,900, and if we did get news that our good old friend Rubio sits, Okubo, I guess. Just, I don't want to. It
doesn't feel great.
I don't want to, Grant. I don't want to. I kind of started with the Dallas side already. What do you like here for Dallas?
I mean, yeah, if we get news that Porzingis is going to sit and then WCS is going to play, like, play WCS. It's not like he's out of shape. He played 32 minutes just a week ago over in Golden State. Like, I'm guessing once he's fully acclimated to the offense, they're going to give him the minutes. Like, if WCS and Porzingis are both out, then Kleber could be in for a decent amount of minutes. Like, they play Porzingis at the 5, but if he sits, then definitely is a spot where Kleber can end up with a boatload of minutes. Like, even Boban, if you have to YOLO at the end of the night, if WCS and Porzingis are out, then Boban there at 3,300 could get 16-plus minutes, which equals a guaranteed pretty much 30 points. But if Porzingis is out, Hardaway Jr. becomes a guy that's probably going to end up with more usage. I know he has been great recently, but he's sitting there at 4,800 and has a shot at 35. So I don't hate him for tournaments if we get news on Porzingis. Luka is Luka in a good matchup going up against Phoenix. He's priced at 12K. Like, maybe if things aren't going well and you have Giannis, like, the utility, you can swap over to Luka. Wouldn't be the worst idea in the world if you need to play some catch-up. But it all depends on the Porzingis status, and that's kind of going to determine everything. But yeah, if Porzingis ends up sitting, then gives a big bump to Hardaway, gives a big bump to Kleber if WCS is out. If WCS is playing, then he gives a big bump to him. Like, it all depends on the Porzingis and WCS news, realistically.
All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we're going to get out of here. Favorite play, under 5K to 7X. Who do you got?
Gonna go with Brolo.
I like that one. I think that one's really solid. There's so many guys down here that are like 5-6X plays. I'm gonna go with Kyle Anderson, hoping that Crowder sits again in that game that we were just talking about. I think at 4,100, I think he could go for 22 fantasy points. So, or I guess it would be more than that. It would be 28. Got to rethink that now. Like, maybe not. Maybe I don't like him as much. No, I'm just kidding. Give me your over 8K to under 5X. Who's your bust today?
I mean, gosh, this is tough here. I'm going to assume that Embiid plays and just go with Simmons.
All right. Just to be clear, if Embiid sits, Grant is not fading Simmons on the slate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to be clear. Man, there's so many good plays up here today. There are so many good plays up here today. Probably my least favorite is probably John Collins. I could definitely see him getting 5X, but when I'm looking at the plays in this range, he's definitely my least favorite. So, yeah, John Collins it is. Favorite 6X play, Grant?
Dillon Brooks.
All right. I like that one. I'm trying to see, like, there's so many guys that I like in this, like, mid-tier today. I was just trying to find one. Give me D'Angelo Russell.
I like it.
Let's get weird GPP play of the day. Who do you got?
I'm going to go. Do you think Marc Gasol's that weird?
I think that's fun.
All right. I'm good with that.
I'm going to go with Sheikh Milton. That's weird, right?
I mean, it's definitely a little bit off the board. It makes complete sense, but yeah, definitely.
Like, yeah. How many people even know who Sheikh Milton is?
I mean, I know who Shaq is.
I'm just saying. Game selection question. What's standing out to you today that you'll be looking at?
I mean, I guess over on DK, like if you're looking for something with lower rake, single entry, $100 double up over there. I mean, it's 10% rake. It's a big enough field where you're not going to, like, a lot of pros will be in there. But yeah, if you have the bankroll for it, $100, like just throw it in one double up. And yeah, pretty much the same as throwing it in a whole bunch of $5 and $10 ones.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, if you're playing on DraftKings, all the single entry double ups, I think they start at $1 or $2 or something like that. Like, all the single entry double ups are the ones that you want to be looking at. So all of them, play all of them.
Yeah, but just remember, if you're playing like a bunch of $5 ones, like get the RG extension. You can see that like some of the $100 single entry double ups have a 9.09% margin compared to an 11-12% margin. Even against tougher competition, you're going to end up getting like more value out of playing the bigger ones than the smaller ones, unless you are like the $1 and $3 ones and $2 ones. Like, pros obviously can't get in them, so it's fine paying a little bit extra rake, but the bigger ones almost always have a smaller margin.
All right, I'm going low stakes today and switching it up on my low stakes guys. Maybe you're in a rut. Maybe you're struggling. Maybe your roster construction is struggling, and you're just kind of wanting a break. I I think you definitely want to check out the NBA tiers. 5K hot shot, 3-entry max, $3 tournament over there on DraftKings today. Pays 22% of the field. Top 10's 32%. Somebody's going to turn potentially $9 into $500. That's a nice ROI. So if you're struggling, maybe, things are not going the way that you want them to as far as roster construction goes, switch it up. Play the tiers contest. Really like the tiers contest over there. And it's a $3 3-entry max, and you're not going to be playing against a ton of pros. I've been telling you guys the tiers contests are pretty soft, so check that out over there. All right, Grant, I got my sharp side streak up to 2 now after losing one last week, and I told Blender yesterday on the podcast the Spurs and Chicago Bulls game was going to go over 218. Total got down to like 211, but I had booked it at 218. So I still hit my over. I'm going to try to make it 3 in a row. Give me your favorite over-under today.
I'm going to go with the over on the Denver-Memphis game.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I like that one. Man, I don't have like my lock right now, but I think that, I really like yours. I really do like yours. I really like the over in that Denver-Memphis game. I'll say I'll take the over. I'll take the over in the Cleveland game. I don't love it's probably not my lock today though. Like that's not my lock. I want to see what the totals look like a little bit later. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Sharp Side, do it. You can play and have some fun over there.
You can make money on this streaks contest.
You can.
For just 5 minutes a day, you can make money.
That's right. So head on over there, download the Sharp Side app. Streak 0 to 5, you're not going to make anything, but you can start making money when you get it up to 6. And we're going to keep it rolling here, and hopefully we can keep it rolling where, if you don't like a lock either, like don't ruin your streak, play the next day. So
yeah, or I generally write a sports betting article most days, so check that out.
Check it out.
Your lock. I did today.
Boom. All right, that's going to wrap it up here for Tuesday. We'll be back Wednesday talking some more hoops. I hope everyone has an awesome day. Good luck in your contest, and we'll see you then.
Hey, kids.